We are sharing some pantry staple recipes today, and if your pantry looks anything like mine, you could probably make 20 meals using the ingredients in your pantry. So all of these recipes today, I am going to be using some pantry staples and seasonings, but I'm also going to be using a few fresh ingredients as well. The whole idea is to start using up our items that we have in our dry storage, which really will save you a lot of money and time when you're putting together a recipe. Well, it is so good to have you here. My name is Ange, and this is the Menu Made Kitchen. So for our tomato and white bean soup, nearly all of the ingredients came out of my pantry, minus the cheese. We've got some onion. Well, actually the garlic came out of the pantry, but it is a perishable. And then we have some fresh basil. But if you have chicken broth that's in the pantry in a carton, I mean, just the whole thing, very simple ingredients. So we are heating up our pot here, and I'm gonna add in 1 tablespoon of olive oil. Another great thing about this recipe is you can have it prepped and made in under 30 minutes, like 25 minutes. So very fast. So I have a 1/2 cup of diced up onion. We want to saute the onion until it's just softened or translucent. We don't want to brown it. And then we'll start adding in our garlic and seasonings. Onion is nice and soft. So I have 1 large garlic clove that I've minced. So it's time to add in our seasonings. I have 3/4 teaspoon Italian seasoning, a pinch of red pepper flakes, and a little bit of salt and pepper. And I'm throwing in a 28-ounce can of crushed tomatoes. I have my white beans that I've rinsed and drained. And then we got to throw in lots of chicken broth. I have 4 cups. So we will bring this to a simmer, and we're just going to let it kind of bubble a little bit for about 20 minutes, and then we will start blending it up in our blender. I am going to add a little bit of sugar to this at the very end, and then we have some Parmesan cheese, like I said, and basil. Tomato soup is done. So I'm going to add about half of the soup to my blender. I still want there to be some whole beans in here and a little bit of texture, but you can blend the entire thing. Now, I do not have an immersion blender. It broke, so that's why I'm putting it in my big blender. I think what I'm going to do is actually pull this off first. This will be easier, maybe a little safer. My house smells so delicious. I was thinking about maybe toasting up some sourdough and then doing a little schmear of butter. But a grilled cheese sandwich sounds really good with this too, so I haven't decided yet. Probably a grilled cheese. I'm feeling the grilled cheese with tomato soup vibes. And what's nice about doing this is the beans kind of give the soup a creamy texture without having to add heavy cream or anything like that to it. But I also feel like this is really easy to customize, so if you wanted to throw in some heavy cream or half and half, feel free. So you obviously want to be really careful when you're adding something hot to a blender because it can expand and kind of pop the lid. So start out slow and it should be fine. Okay, I'm going to get this blended up and then we will add this back to the pot and keep moving forward. So back on the stove, and I just have this set on low. Get this stirred up. You can kind of see there's still a little bit of texture in there. So I am going to add in a little bit of sugar to help balance out some of the acidity in the tomatoes, about 1 teaspoon. Mix this in. I am going to give it a little taste just to make sure we don't need any salt or pepper. And then we're going to serve it up with a little bit of parm and basil and a grilled cheese sandwich. It's going to be delicious. I'm going to try my soup first before we dunk it with our grilled cheese sandwich. I added more Parmesan cheese because it's just the best with tomato soup. I think it's wonderful when you can pull a few items out from your pantry, maybe add a couple little fresh things to it, and it tastes like $1,000,000, which I think this is going to, because I've actually technically already tried it, but this does not taste like canned tomatoes. It is super rich, has just the right amount of like saltiness and sweetness from the sugar. I mean, it's not sweet, but you know what I mean? Like it just kind of balances everything out. Okay, my grilled cheese. Look at that. It'll focus. Yum. All right, give it a little dunk. This is the best. My daughter actually likes having tomato soup with a tuna fish sandwich, and I don't like that. I like just classic grilled cheese. Oh yeah. Delicious pantry meal. This is fantastic. If you love tomato soup, you are gonna love this one. So easy and delicious. We are making a tuna noodle casserole, which is a great recipe to make with pantry ingredients. But before you skip out of here because you don't like tuna noodle casserole, you can definitely make this with like canned chicken or even just shredded cooked chicken. So our linguine noodles are in the microwave in my pasta microwave maker. And we've got a large skillet here. I've got it heated to medium. We're gonna add in a couple of tablespoons of butter, get that melted. It has been years since I've had a tuna noodle casserole, long time. So I'm really excited about this recipe. We're gonna make kind of a breadcrumb buttery topping. It's gonna be cheesy and creamy. To our melted butter, we're gonna add in a half a cup of onion. We've got some minced garlic, couple teaspoons, and then we're gonna add in about 6-7 ounces of sliced mushrooms. We need to get our onion softened, our mushrooms browned, and then once this concoction is finished cooking, then we'll add in some of our other ingredients. Our mushrooms are nice and brown. That looks perfect. So now we're going to add in a couple tablespoons of flour. This is going to kind of help create a nice thick creamy sauce. So we'll stir this together until we really don't see any more raw flour. And then next we're going to add in a half a cup of chicken broth. And we're also going to do 1 2/3 cup of whole milk. I'm going to use my whisk to kind of go in and melt that flour in with our liquid. So now that that is nice and smooth, it's just starting to bubble a little bit. We're going to add in some salt and pepper. I have about half a teaspoon of dried thyme and a teaspoon of dried mustard. And that was also 1 teaspoon of salt, and then I did a half a teaspoon of pepper. So this is starting to thicken a little bit. And then I have 4 cans of albacore white tuna that I've just kind of flaked a little bit. I still want there to be kind of some little chunks in there for sure. Like I said, at this step, you can add chicken. Also going to add in some spinach. I have about 1.5 cups of chopped up spinach. And then we have our linguine noodles. I actually cut these into thirds or broke them into thirds before I cooked it. And this is about 9 ounces or so. And however you decide to cook your noodles, you're going to want to cook it about al dente because we are going to be putting this in the oven and baking it a little bit longer. So creamy. I'm going to pull this off the heat and then we are going to make our simple breadcrumb topping and then get everything into a casserole dish. So for my breadcrumbs, I had some older sourdough in the pantry, which is perfect because it blends up really nicely, but you can do any kind of breadcrumbs, panko breadcrumbs, whatever you have on hand. I'm going to add about 1 tablespoon of parsley to the crumbs, and we have 1 cup of breadcrumbs. We're also going to add in 1 tablespoon of melted butter. So I'm going to pull my casserole dish over here and then add our noodles and all the goodies in our dish and then top it off with 1 cup of Monterey Jack cheese, and then we're going to sprinkle our breadcrumbs over the cheese. I have the oven set at, what does that say? 350, and we're going to bake it about 20 to 25 minutes. You obviously want the top to be golden brown and everything to be good and hot and bubbly. So we have our 9x13 dish that I sprayed with cooking spray. I'm actually going to turn it this way to make it easier to pour. Okay. And then we'll add our cup of Monterey Jack cheese. And then last goes on our breadcrumbs. Well, I am excited about this. I think it's going to be fantastic. Okay, in the oven to bake, and then we get to taste it together. I feel like I'm going back to my childhood with it baking in the oven and just that scent. I mean, it just screams the 1970s or 80s really, because I was born in the late 70s. I'm sure tuna noodle casserole was well before then, but that was when it was popular in my life. It's so creamy. And I love that there's a lot of meatiness to it with the mushrooms and the tuna. And then of course you get the pasta and the cheese. And I think this breadcrumb topping is going to be delicious. Now that is just comfort food right there. I think it is so yummy. But again, if you don't like tuna fish, just do chicken, because who doesn't love creamy pasta with cheese and then that buttery breadcrumb topping? It's really good. You know, I don't know how my family's gonna feel about this, but I sure think it's delicious. And I know that my mom would love it, so she's definitely getting a portion of it because it made that huge pan. Okay, another recipe using some simple pantry staples. This is a keeper. So this is going to be a very simple pantry recipe. Now I know that potatoes are perishables, but these keep in my pantry for a long time. And then we are going to be doing a can of turkey chili over the top of our potatoes. So these are going to go into the slow cooker. And the first thing I'm going to do is just pierce all of my potatoes on both sides a couple times just to make sure that the steam can release. We are a big baked potato family. During the school year, when Avery was in like middle school and high school, we always had like our Wednesday night baked potato night. And I looked forward to it every week because baked potatoes are delicious and they're super easy. So then the next thing I'm going to do is I've got some butter here, and I'm going to take my clean hands, and then I just like to smear butter over the top of the potatoes. You can also do oil, but I've always liked butter. I just feel like it gives it great flavor. You'll have to let me know if you are a baked potato family too, or if you enjoy making baked potatoes as like the main meal. We'll definitely have some cheese and green onion on the side, some sour cream, all the good stuff. And then I am going to take some kosher salt and sprinkle the top of the potatoes with the salt. I have always just done salt, but you can definitely add pepper too. And this is it. That looks good. A little more salt. Got to have lots of salt on there. And then we will add our baked potatoes right to the slow cooker. So I'm actually going to cook these on high for about 4 or 5 hours, but you can also do it on low for like 8 to 10 hours, depending on the size of your potato. Pull this guy over here. Okay, that is it. So we will see you back here in a few hours. So let's put one of these bad boys together. I'm so excited, and my kitchen smells like baked potato heaven. These cooked perfectly. I had them in the slow cooker for 5 hours, and they're just the perfect texture. I already got these ones all ready without the chili. And so I just like to open it up, and then I give it a little like smush there. Now I love the skins of the potato. You'll have to let me know if you are a potato skin lover, especially if it's kind of crisp. And that's what I like about these baked potatoes, not wrapping them in foil and putting them in the slow cooker. The outside of the skin gets a little bit crispy, and I just think it's perfect. And actually I have a bowl here, and I'm gonna transfer my potato into the bowl. I think it'll be much easier to eat, especially with the chili. I'm gonna add a little bit of butter. Since we're doing a bunch of cheese in the chili, I'm not gonna go crazy on the butter. Kind of mix that in there. This feels so funny, like sharing this recipe with you, because it's kind of like stupid simple. But you know, sometimes we just need an idea for the week or the day. And maybe this inspires you to do baked potatoes tonight. Okay, and I'm gonna do a little layer of cheese first before we put on our chili, and then I'll put on a little bit more cheese. And the Trader Joe's turkey chili, I love it because it has a little bit of kind of zing to it, almost like they put lime zest or lime juice. And then a little bit more cheese. Oh gosh. This is my husband's kind of meal right here. He is going to be so ecstatic for dinner tonight. And we got to do a dollop of sour cream, right? I feel like I need to do just a little bit of pepper. All right, guys, slow cooker baked potatoes. This is ready to taste. So I don't know what busy human being doesn't love coming home to having dinner pretty much done. I mean, I had to open up the can of chili, whoop-de-doo, but so easy. And even this morning, pulling the potatoes out of the pantry, my can of chili, I set that out on the counter to have it all ready for me. So the only thing I needed to do was a little shredded cheese and some green onion. So simple, and I love that. And it's okay to have cheat nights where you're doing simple things. I have given myself such permission for that because obviously I do a lot of cooking for YouTube and my blog and whatnot, but I love meals like this, and sometimes even a frozen pizza. I'm not gonna feel guilty, but anyway, this is gonna be fantastically delicious. And I'm pretty sure that most of you watching love baked potatoes. You guys like the cheese and the sour cream and all that goodness. As I can zoom, look at that beauty. Why are baked potatoes so stinking good? Oh, the texture of the potatoes. And that chili, I'm telling you, if you got a Trader Joe's, they might even have it on Amazon. I haven't looked yet, but if they do and you don't have a Trader Joe's in your area, I'll make sure to link it below. As long as it's not like $10 for a can of chili. But really yummy, a fantastic, easy dinner using mostly pantry ingredients, but really just a few ingredients, which is what we need sometimes. I'm gonna go finish eating this. My husband's not home yet, and I'm pretty much gonna have this baked potato polished off. Well, I am prepping my onions for our ground beef rice casserole. And as you know it, rice is definitely a pantry staple. And we use a lot of it. I cook with rice, I feel like multiple times a week. It's easy, it's cheap, and there's just lots of different ways that you can use it. So we're chopping up a large onion, and we're gonna get this on our skillet with some olive oil and caramelize the onions. It's gonna take about 10 minutes, but it's gonna give it really good flavor. Caramelizing the onions and getting them nice and brown and kind of sweet. I'm also going to add some other veggies. We are going to do a cup of frozen veggies, which in my opinion, freezer ingredients can also be like pantry ingredients because they last a long time. Nice big skillet, medium heat, and we're going to add a tablespoon of olive oil, and then we'll add all of our onions. And it's going to seem like a lot of onions, but when they cook down and caramelize, like I said, they just get nice and sweet, and it just adds a nice depth of flavor to the dish. I am going to add a little bit of salt. That'll kind of help break down the onions a little bit. And then we will get these cooked up. Check these out. These are smelling good, and they're getting nice and, whoa, nice and steamy, but also nice and browned. Just have a few more minutes. Okay, these look perfect. We're not going for like the jammy type of caramelized onions when you cook them down so much that they turn into basically onion jam. Still want a little bit of texture. So I've got a pound of lean ground beef. Actually, let me grab my little beef smasher thing. So we're gonna cook up our ground beef until it's no longer pink, and then we'll add in some garlic. So I have a couple of garlic cloves minced. I'm gonna cook this about 30 seconds. And then for our seasonings, we have a half a teaspoon of onion powder, a teaspoon of Italian seasoning, and a half a teaspoon each of salt and pepper. We're also gonna add in 2 teaspoons of Worcestershire. And then I'm gonna go ahead and throw in my peas and carrots. These are like semi-thawed, it really doesn't matter. But I definitely want them to soften a little bit, get rid of like the cold freeze before we add everything else. And we'll combine all of this and maybe cook this another couple of minutes, and then we're gonna pull this pan off the heat and add in our rice and our beef broth. Okay, we'll move this over here. Now we're gonna add in 1 cup of long grain white rice, and then we're throwing in 2 cups of beef broth. So I have a casserole dish that I've sprayed with nonstick spray, and we're gonna add this mixture to our casserole dish. I have a lid for it, so I'm gonna put the lid on, but you can definitely cover it tightly with foil, and then we'll pop it in the oven. I have my oven set at 350, and we're gonna bake this about 30 minutes. We'll pull the lid off, and then we're gonna add some delicious Swiss cheese, or you can do any kind of cheese. Leave the lid off, and then we'll let our cheese melt and get all bubbly, finish cooking the rice. It's gonna be so cozy and delicious. Well, this was certainly easy to throw together, and my home smells delicious. So, oh, that is good. The flavor in that rice from the onion and the Worcestershire and then all the seasonings. It is so comforting. Like, it's definitely throwing out the cozy vibes for sure. But what I did is I actually put this under the broiler to kind of crisp up the top of the cheese a little bit. And I love that. I love when the cheese gets a little bit kind of crusty. It just, I don't know, there's something about it. It makes it like extra salty. This is delicious, and it's gonna make fantastic leftovers, because you know, anything that has like rice or pasta, it always tastes even better the next day. Another pantry staple recipe. You've got to try this one. It's really good. Well, I hope you walked away with some fresh inspiration today. I'll make sure to pop up another video with really easy dinner ideas. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I look forward to seeing you next time.